Welcome back to the Georgia's Live podcast. I am here with Zach and Darian from the Buffalo Drum Company. How are you guys doing?
Great, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for coming on. You guys are our first live in-person interview. Everything's been on the phone so far, so super happy to have you guys here.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Very honored.
Let's go ahead and dive right in. You guys have Buffalo Drum Company. You guys kind of just go over what you guys do exactly.
Well, more or less, we make drums to start off with. I think that's kind of obvious, but we do quite a bit of other things: restoration, fixing any small problems, taking care of touring drummers, things like that. We're kind of trying to, locally anyways, we're kind of trying to be the local drum shop that we've always needed around here. There's tons of drummers around here, as you know, being a drummer yourself, and me being a drummer. I never really had a place to go other than Guitar Center, which, no offense to them, but they're not really much help usually in those pinches right before you're about to leave for tour. You're like, oh my God, I need this tiny little thing that they're clearly not going to carry. They can, any drummers can come to us and we can try to fix them up. But beyond that, we're trying to expand and become more of a drum company in the sense that we're trying to build more and kind of stave off a little bit of the restoring and restorations, just so we can make more time for that. Not that we don't want to do it. It's just we enjoy the building process a little bit more than everything else. It's truly what we got into this for, and we're just trying to work more and more towards that.
What have you been working on mostly lately? What's been filling up a lot of your time? Has it been the restorations or the building?
The building truly does take up most of our time. We're kind of particular about what projects we'll take on restoration wise. We'll say yes to most things, but we like to do the big, really dramatic restorations. We've done a few for Adam Putman and for Chris Moore here in town. Shout out to East Hall Studios, my dude.
Yeah, Chris is the man.
We like to do the dramatic stuff when it comes to restorations, just because it's fun. It's not exactly super fun for us to just fix the bearing edges on somebody else's custom drum that they've already had made for them from another company, or
maybe fix one that fell out of a trailer and got dragged from Kansas City to Bella Vista.
Yeah, actually, before Darian was part of this company, my very first job was actually Travis's.
Was that really your first one?
That was my first officially job. I had been doing it, for months and months, as you know, before that. But when I really decided to quit my other job and go full time, that was when you were like, "Hey, my bass drum fell out of the back of the car."
Yeah, U-Haul trailer popped open.
Oh,
Have you heard about this?
I haven't.
It's that the blue sparkle.
I saw a picture of it last night.
Off cut.
I was like, "Oh man, I remember that."
It was so gnarly.
I know.
So gnarly.
I guess it might have been me. I don't remember, but I didn't have the trailer latched all the way on the U-Haul trailer. You can get two kinds. You can get the kind that kind of folds shut, or the ones that slingshot open. And we had drove with the windows down, and our guitar player, we pulled back into Bella Vista, and he's like, "I'm pretty sure I hear something dragging." And I rolled down the window, and I could hear like a...
Oh my God.
And I was like, that's probably the sound of my drums getting dragged behind the trailer, because I definitely bungee corded my bass drum.
At least you bungee corded it.
Oh, dude.
I mean, I don't know.
It saved it.
Yeah, maybe.
It didn't save everything I didn't bungee cord. That stuff is just spread out along the road all the way down from Kansas City. But it shaved it down, and so luckily you started this company, and I was like, oh, never in a million years would I have the luck that I've got now, to where I know for a fact that I could take it over and Zach's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more shallow.
Yeah, that was a trial by fire. Yeah, you lost probably 8 inches
half
off
the
of
drum.
That thing. Yeah, it's
so
a little shallow boy now. But
just cut it down.
Yeah, cut it down and fix the bearing edges and recut the holes and
it's those lugs. Sonar has just like weird lugs, and so that's all I need to get. But also having to get new heads and new rims is kind of
expensive, man. People don't ever take that into consideration when they're getting work done with us. Where we'll charge them for our work, and then we'll be like, "Do you want us to put new heads on it?" And they'll usually say yes. And then we're like, "Okay, it's this much more." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, have you ever reheaded your drum kit?" Yeah, 90% of drummers are like, "Well, no, I've never put new heads on my kit." I'm like, "Wow, okay.
It's the hardware too. You overlook
Yeah.
the hardware. That's what I did.
The hardware is
I was like,
90% of our cost, you know.
Yeah, the adhesive that actually pulls everything together is a big cost. But what have you guys been doing with hardware? Are you guys still kind of getting from somewhere else? I see that you guys got the badges and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, so we're working on getting the hardware pushed out this year. We are working on a kit for Fayetteville Roots Festival right now, so
Nice.
That's been kind of that will definitely have our at least our lugs on it. So
Yes, we just bought a lathe from 1928. It's an old South Bend that we've been rebuilding basically from the ground up. We have another metal lathe that we've been doing small hardware things like clutches and stuff like that. But we're about to go roll out the full on hardware from Buffalo Drum Co. like 100%. You know, we'll always be able to source hardware. You know, like if we're doing a restoration or if somebody wants something very specific to match their drum kit, we'll do that. However, we'll have our own line of hardware. That's somewhat similar to what we're already putting out, but we just want to have our name on it. We want to have complete control over, you know, everything that we're making top to bottom. You know, I don't think we'll ever get into making like heads or drumsticks. Maybe a couple one-off pairs of drumsticks, but as far as the drum shell,
It's got to be a challenge, I would imagine.
People always ask, you know, when are you going to make drumsticks? And I'm just like, man,
they have to be perfectly balanced.
Yeah,
Imagine that.
yeah, it's a whole. I mean, I'd have to tool up in a completely different way.
We'd have to be a
do
drumstick
that.
company.
Exactly.
I forget where I was at. I stopped by a drum shop somewhere on the road, and they were like, "Do you care if your sticks are balanced?" And I was like, "I mean,
They come balanced. What do you mean?
yeah, like, is that how they come?" Because
Yeah,
he
I
asked
mean,
me.
They're
yeah, that's the biggest
usually.
part of drumstick manufacturing is you know, matching. That's why Big Firth has the.
But then we grab them and just throw them in a stick bag, and
Sure.
then
Yeah, I try to.
Then you use them once. And
Do
they're
you
out of
try to
that.
keep yours
I
together?
try to keep mine together. Usually, I have only one one pair of each different style that I use when I'm playing. So I use like SD2 Boleros. So I'll get a fresh pair of those. I'll mix and match those every once in a while. Usually, you know, after a little while of use, they're going to be all shaved down anyways, and it doesn't.
That's
really
what
matter.
I go by. Does it look like a beaver's been trying to eat it?
Yeah.
And then if there's two that look
It depends
like,
on what band I've been playing with. But
Yeah,
if I'm
there's
with
my
I'm
metal
playing with the
sticks.
metal bands, yeah, it's just chips everywhere.
We will build like weights for the back of them to weight.
Okay,
weight
cool.
the
Yeah,
sticks,
nice.
Do things like that, mods for them, but yeah.
And bass drum beaters, we just rolled out.
I did
bass
see
drum
those.
beaters.
Those bass drum beaters are sweet.
They're really neato. Got leather on the front, or just straight up wood beaters.
Leather or rubber.
Yeah, rubber.
How did this idea come? I know it started from needing a drum shop, but what was the determining factor of you pulling the trigger and giving it a go?
Man, I worked at School of Rock up in Bentonville near here, and I had a whole bunch of donation kits that would be given to us by parents or just by random people that didn't need a drum kit anymore. They would drop them off, and they were basically unusable kits, more or less, just kind of beaters, I guess you could say. But we, you know, constantly had a need for a floor tom here, a snare drum there, you know. And one day, I actually have it on the very beginning of our Instagram feed. If you scroll all the way back, it's just a time lapse of me fixing all of those kits and painting all of them black because metal.
Yeah.
And no, it stemmed from that. You know, the more I did that, and seeing all of the different drum company styles and all of the ways that they build, it just got me into it. And the more I did it, the more I would have, you know, the parents there, and then other people saw me doing it. They would come to me and ask me if I could do stuff for them, you know, small fixes and mods and, you know, tuning up kits and whatever. And it just kind of made me realize, you know, this is a viable option. This is something that I would actually love to do for a living. You know, this is a void that I can fill in this local market, and it's something that it's a way that I can kind of stay in the music world without, you know, having that pipe dream of being a rock star. You know, like I can keep my foot in the door in the music world and still stay in it because I love the culture. However, I have to come to terms with the fact that my, you know, local metal band's not going to be the next whatever
Yeah,
big
dude,
band.
it just sucks
you know?
when you find out you're not going to be famous.
Yeah. I feel like everybody needs to have that realization.
That's
We're
where
just
I'm
even if
working
you're
on
going
it
to be
another
famous.
way now.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at, because I feel, for me personally, I'm super honored to work here,
Oh,
and get to be doing
absolutely.
this podcast, talking to you guys.
Yeah,
so
and
it's
see,
like,
this is your thing. This is another thing that you can do. Keep your foot in the
Music
music
world.
door,
Mhm.
music world, and you don't necessarily have to
get in a van, go somewhere, not know where you're going to stay.
leave the kiddos, whatever. I like go-getters like that in this industry that are like all the people that were here yesterday.
Yeah,
the music industry meetup.
Thank you guys for coming.
Absolutely,
We're talking about the Northwest Arkansas Music Industry Meetup that is hosted by Shindig, which is another organization that I am part of, and here at George's, where we kind of just brought music industry professionals that live around here, but also artists and stuff, and kind of just got them in a room. Did you guys come to the first one?
No, we didn't realize it was happening until like the day of.
It's a strange sell, because it's an event about
It's an event for
something,
everybody,
but it's
really.
for nothing. But there's no
Sure.
agenda.
Sure.
We were driving here like, man, what are we about to walk into? Like, should we have brought a drum? Like, how's this going to work? You
Yeah.
know?
So
We just brought
That's-
business cards and handed them out.
that's perfect.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really
basically-
all it is, because I
It's a
found
great idea. I mean, I've honestly never heard of that happening.
It came from.
I'm sure it does, but
Yeah, there's like South by Southwest.
Sure.
And there's music conferences. And I've been fortunate enough to just being in the music game. I've been to South by several times as a player doing showcases, and I've been there as a talent buyer scouting bands,
Sure.
and I've just been there as a dude. So I was trying to see what did I get out of these. Okay, I know for South by Southwest, the coolest things I've seen outside of like up and coming bands are something called flat stock, which is artists that make flyers for national tours. There's like Queens of the Stone Age stuff, but it wasn't with their tour ad mats or anything like that. It was custom art by those artists for the tour.
Cool.
Very 1970s,
Yeah,
60s
I dig that.
psychedelic.
Very cool.
And it was like probably like 1,000 different artists there. And it was like a giant flea market. It's like the NAMM for people that make
Yeah.
posters.
yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's
And I
rad.
spent half my time looking around there,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that
selling
stuff's super
stickers for $1. Like, whenever we leave here, my laptop is littered with stickers, and I'll break them off and hang them on the wall just from all these different artists. And so, the way that I felt at that, I started to see myself in a place to where I could contribute to the music community here,
Sure.
and with education. And not so much like from a teacher, but being like, here's what exists. If
Yeah.
I can pull people into a room of studios and drum makers
No, I
and
feel like
guitar
that's
makers,
huge. I
And
feel like that's a very
Knowing we're here, I mean, we've had the craziest year ever, and it's been just like hard to keep up with, but
Yeah,
not a
we're-
lot of pushing our brand out in the public because it's just been growing it and
Well
it's-
received.
Yeah, well received.
Definitely
We've been
well
Very
received.
grateful.
it's definitely super nice to be able to. I feel like this town specifically is very cliquey, even in the music industry. You have like the people that maybe go to this studio and hang out with this crowd of musicians, and there's different circles, and to be able to bring all of those people together is huge for us. Because I don't care who you hang out with. I want to sell you a drum.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's perfect for us. Like we were talking about yesterday, this is the exact thing we need to have a booth and have our stuff out. And it's in any capacity, the studios, all of those. That's so great. Like the pull ups. What was that?
Yeah,
What
Sir
was that?
Speedy.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
great,
little
you know?
things that I notice that I pick up on where I'm like, I have a show. I need stickers.
Yeah.
Now all my bands are cover bands, so I'm not like. I don't mean this in a bad way, but for an original artist, you're like following your dream and you're pushing your music. When you're in a cover band, you're trying to provide a good time.
Sure. It's the experience.
So it's more, I like the branding side of it.
Yeah,
To
so do
where
we.
you come up with something goofy and stuff, but then you start thinking, all right, I need
Yeah,
stickers.
just saw The Juice, your new band.
Yeah,
I love
The
that.
Juice.
It's a great name.
It's Jim Goza has Jim and Juice. He does his own solo stuff, and
Okay.
he was, took on leadership role in that band. He's like, what about the Juice? And we thought about it. And
Love
That's
that.
amazing.
Perfect.
There is
That's very Jim
there's a
Goza.
band in Springfield called Juice Box, and they just now changed their name. So I hit up this venue, and I was like, hey, listen, going through a little band change, and we're now called The Juice. And he goes, very interesting. Somebody 10 minutes ago just now changed their name to Juice Box. And I'm like, they don't have like a logo of a juice box squeezing juice out of it with the name in the puddle, do they? And surely enough, within like 30 seconds, he sent me a picture of a jukebox being squeezed and the juice is coming out and it says juice box in the juice.
Amazing.
And I was like, oh my gosh, you could not make that up.
Yeah.
The very first place I contacted somebody else just now did the exact same band name, almost
We
with
run
the
into
same
that all
logo.
the time.
Yeah,
we'll have these
recently-
ideas and then we'll see them and we're just like, why does this
Yeah.
always happen?
It's like somebody's in our head sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's even recently there's been a wood shop pop up around here. What is their name? It's the Bearded Buffalo, maybe, or something like that. And it's just like it's a similar branding. It's not. I mean, we don't want him to change his name or anything like that because it's a totally different thing. But it's just like
There ain't nothing you can do about it.
There's no.
I was
it's
like, I
just
guess I'll go doodle
I
something
guess we're
different.
both gonna be buffaloes.
Yeah,
you know?
I had like a...
I got it tattooed on me. It's too late.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, I can't go back.
Unless you're supporting them and you want to add to it.
Yeah.
I went and I just started doodling some other stuff, and I had like an owl, where like the eyes were like the carton tops with like straws.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Its wings, and I was like, this is too much.
Very Travis Smith.
Yeah, very weird. But it's one of the things I've noticed, kind of what you were saying about filling a void for drums around here. I remember reading in the back of a Modern Drummer magazine, and you'd go and it'd list all these drum shops, and then the closest one was like Memphis Drum Shop, I want to say.
Yeah, it's like
And then every once in a while, CNC would be in there, and I know
They don't do very many. They don't do restorations.
They did for a while, and they quit doing them, obviously because they're doing very well for themselves. They don't need to. They don't need to spend the time doing that, and that's obviously where we're trying to get. But I always want to have a shop locally, specifically for the local drummers that need things fixed. Maybe not restorations on a big scale, but I always want to be there for the local guys
to support
and anybody who's coming through and touring. We
Yeah.
want to offer a landing zone for them to come and check it out because they always
House
really
kits.
enjoy it.
House
Yeah.
kit's something we want to start providing for all the venues. Just kind of get in touch with them and be like, hey, we're here.
there's an option if you need
This
it.
is an option. Holler at us if you need it. If you want one, just to be there. We're doing, like she was talking about, we're doing one for Roots HQ. It's going to live there.
Oh,
So
nice.
they're going to start doing.
I love that place.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
it's
great.
beautiful.
So great there.
There's that beautiful Baby Grand it's going to live by.
Yeah, super sweet Baby Grand, and Baird's guitars are there. And we already have a snare there, but we're going to have an entire kit there for all the drummers to play when they're coming through. But I'd like to offer that to as many venues around here as I can, at least, working venues that are doing something like George's, they actually got good acts coming through consistently, and so it's expensive for us to provide a kit. It's not just like your average.
Come drop it off. And
Well, it's just not your average like Keller Shells kit.
Yeah.
It's every single piece is handmade. So if we're gonna give somebody a drum kit, obviously it's good for us, but it's got to be worth it in the end for both of us.
I think I don't, unless obviously they're endorsed and can't play it, I don't see a drummer at any level not wanting to play a fully custom kit by a local shop when you're in
Sure.
town.
Yeah.
That's like,
It's the cream of the crop, bee's knees.
that'd be awesome if I could find people in every city that would give me a custom kit every time I
No
went.
kidding.
Be like,
Don't have to take anything on
sign me up,
tour.
we'll be back in July.
Yeah.
When you first started, you were doing the Staves shell? Are you
Still doing
that?
Still doing the stave shells. Do
Kind of
stave.
explain that, because I've explained it to people, and they're like, hold on, what? But
Yeah,
I think
usually
you could
there's
probably
a
do it
gloss
better.
over point.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Usually
whenever you see it, you're
about
like,
15 seconds in, people's eyes gloss over, and you're like, okay.
even
well.
when you were cutting them,
Yeah.
I was like, I have no idea what he plans on doing.
So-
And then I saw it, and I was
So
like,
our native series, which is our standard, is 24 staves. So it's 7.5 degrees, 24 staves.
Here's an easier way to
Need
talk
a
about it.
15-degree
This is
angle.
yep. He's starting to gloss over. So, okay. So think about a
That's
barrel.
about as far as we
Think about a barrel.
it's like Homer backing in the
seen-
Like a
bushes.
geometrical
yeah.
shape.
You've seen
you
it.
know?
You've seen a barrel, obviously. So it looks. Obviously, the people listening cannot see, but I'm
If you're
drawing.
looking at it from the side, he is
looking at it from
drawing
the
a barrel.
side.
So
Yep.
do an octagon because it's easier math.
Okay, that's great. Octagon. That's 8 sides, right? I'm really blowing this.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Good thing this isn't a visual podcast. This be.
I am fired from my own job.
4, 5. There you go. You're close.
And,
Graph paper.
oh, this is graph paper, isn't it?
You don't make drums, do you?
I do not make
We
drums.
make circles. We make perfect
I don't make
cylinders.
drawings. Okay, so I'll make us 3D here. So we've got these little guys. One of these guys is a stave here. Actually, we have drums here. What are we doing?
Yeah. So you're gonna have to explain this in a way where somebody listening.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm really trying to here. Okay, so everybody's seen a barrel made.
Mm-hmm.
They're made up of any number of what are called staves. So those are the pieces of wood that are glued together or joined together all the way around. You can see. Travis can see, but nobody else can see the different pieces on this drum that I have in front of us. So this particular drum and our standard series are made up of 24 of these staves. So there's 24 pieces all the way around, glued together, and each of those staves have to have an angle cut on either side. So 360 divided by 24, what is that?
15.
Are you serious? so okay.
I'm just kidding. I just wanted to. No, it's 50. It's 15. It's 15. So you've got a 15-degree joint. So it means each of the sides that are cut need to be at 7.5 degrees, making 15. So you can have a 15-degree joint. So each of these sides are at 7.5 degrees, meeting together at a 15-degree joint all the way around. 15 times 24 is 360.
So you lay this out and wrap it all together, and it makes that drum.
Exactly. We lay that out, glue it up into a circle, and let it sit for a little while. Let it move for a final time. So wood goes through movement periods. Every time you cut it or process it, it's going to move a little bit, meaning
Also,
it's going
anytime
to.
the weather changes.
Wood's an organic material. It's not, it's not metal. It's gonna breathe. It's gonna soak up moisture and let go of moisture, over time through the seasons.
Does it do that a little bit differently, considering the fact that that drum is made of pieces as opposed to kind of your plies that are wrapped together?
It does. So the reason stave drums are even a thing is because of the amount of glue that's used in the different drum building processes. So a ply drum is made up of thin veneers, essentially, thin flat pieces of wood that are glued up into a mold, and they have glue in between each layer all throughout. And glue is supposedly it stifles resonance, so it's not going to be as resonant as a drum that has less glue in it. So it's said more or less that stave drums use about 80% less glue, because once it's all done, once it's all rounded out and stuff, all the glue you have is in those little tiny joints that are all the way around, in those 24 joints. And with a ply drum, you're going to have all of that glue in there all the time in between each layer, so you're talking about, if you get up into the higher plies, like a crazy, like super thick 20 ply drum or something, you're going to have so much glue in that drum that it's not going to resonate as well as, something like we do. So we can make a super thick drum that's going to have a super high register, but still resonate like a thin drum.
Nice.
And additionally, the wood grain is going top to bottom, not left to right. So it's said that the sound can travel through the end grain to end grain, top to bottom, through the wood a lot better and resonate a lot better.
Can you explain plies? And what exactly, how is a drum made outside of a stave?
That's kind of what I was talking about, the veneers. They're made in a mold. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. Every company has, loose parameters of what they do, but they're not going to tell you exactly how to do it. But more or less, they usually put it in a mold. Like DW, you can access what DW does pretty easily. Their videos are readily available. So they essentially have a hot press that's a mold that they put, said amount of plies, let's say 5 plies into it, with glue in between, and then they
Really, really thin sheets of
super
wood.
thin. Like we're talking, a 32nd of an inch thick. Glued together, put into a circular press that joins all of them. And then what DW does, which is specific to them, is they put it into a cold press directly after that crystallizes the glue and supposedly makes it more resonant. And it probably does. John Good's a god, and he knows everything. So
yeah.
So I'm not going to say. I can't even say supposedly when bringing.
There ain't nobody that's ever said a DW kit doesn't sound good.
Dude, I have a DW bass drum. You can't. I can't get rid of it. It's still, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me of what I'm working towards, you know, when I keep, you know, I have a really beautiful mid 50s Ludwig gold sparkle that we just kind of have around the shop. It's actually one that I restored that one of my buddies found in an abandoned house. And I restored it many, many years ago. Yeah. He found a Slingerland and a Ludwig.
What?
Yeah. Just
It's
in the
60s Slingerland
Yeah.
and a 50s Ludwig.
Yeah, it was Chooch, Jason Norton, Papa. You listening, Papa? He just brought them to me and was like, "Yeah, I have no idea what they are," and I was like, "That's great. I'll take them." And I restored one of them.
Did you tell him what they were?
Yeah, he knows. No, actually,
He had him for a couple years.
He had him for a couple of years after I restored him.
Like,
After I
those
told
are,
him, and he
dude,
brought
those
him
are
by.
Trash.
No,
Yeah.
I told it away for you.
he brought him by, and he's like, "Man, I don't really have a use for him. They're just kind of kicking around." And I was like, "Great, I would love to have him kicking around the shop." But anyways, having those kinds of things around reminds us, you know, it's a good thing to look at when you're kind of like looking for inspiration or something. You look at one of those beautiful pieces, and you're like, "Man, those guys have it
Classic.
figured out." Classic, timeless. That's kind of everything we're going for is a timeless, you know, heirloom quality piece. That's not just your average, you know, pearl drum kit.
That's awesome. What how's it feel whenever you get a drum completed
Oh
and
my
you haven't
God.
played it yet, but then
There's-
you get the hardware on it, and then it's
That's-
the first hit?
That's the number one.
Because it goes from a geometrical shape, and then it's a cylinder, and you're like, that's a cool cylinder.
Yeah.
And then you put all the hardware on it, and you're like,
Yeah.
an
Once the
instrument.
Yeah.
hardware comes on, that's when it really
Yeah.
gets real. Once the hardware comes on and you get the heads on there, even just finger tight, when everything's on there and you can sit back and look at it, you're like, wow, this is really, you know, it started out as a piece of wood.
they're still shocking to us.
Yeah,
When we hear
every
them,
single time.
You know, we'll play them, tune them, and play them, and then we're like, wow, it sounds awesome.
Yeah,
So-
every time I'm pumped, you know, I'm just as pumped as the first time. I'm like, man, this is like
Who all around
amazing.
town has your drums right now?
Let's see, we've got Anthony Ball,
Anthony Ball plays with
shout
Funk
out.
Factory and a lot of.
my dude. He's
Lot of
awesome.
bands.
He actually restored an entire kit for him recently that he says that he loves. He said he mic'd it up recently and loved it. Chris Beidler. Who else we got?
Philip Wood.
Philip Wood. Help me out.
Tyler
Daniel Dickey.
Dominguez.
Yeah, Tyler Dominguez, Calic Jackson. I don't want to miss anybody now.
No, you're good. And Chris has one at East Hall. Does he?
Chris does not have
Or
one.
yeah,
I have
he had
one made.
one
I have
that's
one,
right.
I restored a whole bunch of kits for him.
Yeah, did you restore?
I restored his Ludwig, the famous Ludwig.
Dude.
That was one of the early restorations that I did. It's
It still sounds so
it's
awesome.
made from sky blue pearl. It was in pretty rough shape. I mean, Chris takes good care of his stuff, so he didn't.
It was
do
kind of
anything
in
it.
that shape when you got it.
Yeah, that's what I've gathered. And I'm sure it didn't degrade from there at
It
all.
just sits there and
yeah,
gets
it just
played.
sat there.
His studio's even like, just like
It's a
just-
treasure chest in there. I love
For
going.
us,
I love
even.
going
I
to
want
East
to
Hall.
say my band was the first one to record there because I remember he was building it,
Mhm.
and then I'll
Yeah,
probably
you guys
played
go
on-
way back.
Yeah, we do.
You guys were in a band together. You were in Hot Shot
Still
Karate
are. We're
together.
looking
Yeah.
at booking a show right
Oh
now.
yeah,
and-
you guys just got back together recently, right?
Yeah, Caleb, one of our members, moved, so whenever he gets back
Classic.
to town, we've been working on a second album and kind of recording it separately, but
Mhm.
we don't actively play, but we were sitting on a bunch of good songs. We get
Mhm.
together from time to time, but Chris's studio is a fun factory out
Oh
there.
man, yeah. If you're any sort of gear nerd, go to East Hall. That
Friends
place
that I've
is-
had
just
that
go
are
walk.
like-
Just go sit in the middle of the live room. It's
Yeah.
just like just spin around.
It doesn't
It's so
matter
great.
what you play.
Yeah, there's
Like
something
finger
awesome for
piano thing.
everybody there. Yeah,
Just
just
a
tons
little
of
bit of everything.
everything.
Forgot about Dick Darden.
Dick Darden.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Uh-huh.
dude, Dick Darden, number one Buffalo Drum Co. artist.
Yeah, I'm sure if you ask him about it, he'll tell you about it for an hour.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
you guys-
he's on tour out there repping.
Yeah, all the time. Every day he'll post, you know, he'll take pictures of the drum in front of like some beautiful mountain in like Switzerland or something, you know, all the time. I just love that. I love seeing him out there, and I love that he loves the drum, you know.
He's hard on it, and it's
Yeah.
good.
He's hard on
like
he's
that.
hard on it like we want people to be. You know, we want people to use these drums. I don't want to spend all this time making a drum and then somebody just
They
like
set it in their house and
sit-
show their
yeah,
drummer friends when
exactly,
they come over.
Like,
Yeah.
check this thing out. No, I want people to play these things because 100% of the time we're focusing on function over form. I mean, form is huge to us. As you can see, we spend a lot of time making them beautiful, but number one is how they work, how they sound, how easy they are to tune, how easy they are to, you know, how easy the throw goes on and off. All of those things are huge. You know, we want it to feel as good as it looks, playing and just using.
Do you guys have any storefronts anywhere? Do you have it in any stores or anything? Or
Our shop's over by Fossil Cove, and we welcome people there. It is a production shop, so we don't have a true storefront at this time, but we're kind of hoping that we can utilize our stuff being in places like the Roots headquarters and things like that. To show people, make appointments, but to show people them in a setting like that. But yeah, the shops is always, is a storefront.
Let them come see where the sausage is made.
Yeah, exactly. Usually if you're nerdy enough to want a custom drum, you're going to be stoked about coming into the production shop and seeing all of the drums being made, and seeing all of the cool stuff that goes into that process.
Getting into the metalworking too has made it, it's just
made it that much cooler.
It's a treasure trove for anybody who can appreciate, people who make things.
So. Are you guys doing those badges?
No, that's something I wanted to bring up. Is Shire Post Mint makes those badges for us. They're out of Springdale, actually. They do a lot of like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings memorabilia coins and stuff like that. Yeah.
Like official?
Official, yeah. They're licensed and everything.
That's cool.
And
they have some beautiful old machines from the Denver Mint, and they press them all.
What did I see you guys were doing for Onyx?
Onyx, we just did a what we've been calling it is a roaster shroud or a muffler shroud. So basically, it's like an anti-drum. They needed something.
It's
pretty.
It's drum shaped, but it's not at all.
Yeah, it's the opposite
when I
of a
saw
drum.
it, I thought it was a drum, and I was like, I don't know.
It's actually got studio dampening foam in it.
Oh yeah.
So it's what it was is to dampen the sound of the beans in the hopper, the loader hopper that's above the roasting machine. They needed a way to muffle that because it's in a communal space. It's in their their HQ's also doubling as the new heirloom space and just their.
There's a bar called the Foreman Bar.
And there's a cocktail
it's right
bar
above it, so it
just needs something to.
It just needed.
Quiet that down a little bit.
It's a loud process. It's a big production machine.
Though? It looked huge.
It's massive. It's 38 inches across,
38 by 32,
and 32 inches tall.
Good Lord.
They actually just ordered another smaller one for another part of the machine. But yeah, that was a fun build.
It was a full concept to done in 2 months. It was good. It was a huge learning process for both of us. But proud of it.
It's a beautiful piece, though.
Yeah, we're
art.
very proud of it.
I mean, it's art for sure.
Yeah.
We wanted it to be cohesive with the machine. Obviously, we didn't want it to stick out, but also since it was being viewed from the top down, we wanted it to look like kind of like the space. It's simple, but definitely refined. The top is a little bit loud for us, but we did it on purpose because we didn't want to make the entire thing some crazy wooden masterpiece. We wanted the top to kind of look like that and showcase what we kind of do, but then from the side it just looks like part of the machine. You can't even really tell it doesn't belong.
We matched
with
the color
machine.
and put the brass on.
Yeah,
it looks just like their machine.
Exactly.
Nice. So if anybody wants to find out about you guys, where do they go online to find what you guys have?
Our Instagram has probably the most content. It's Buffalo Drum Co. On Instagram. It's also that on Facebook. Messaging us gets both of us personally. And then our website's under construction at this time, but you can also email us at buffalodrumco@gmail.com.
Well, cool. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
I don't think so.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on.
Thanks for having
the
us,
George's
man.
Live podcast.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else you guys got coming up here in the near future.
Absolutely.
For everybody else, thank you for listening to the George's Live podcast. For more information, you can go to georgeslive.com. You can also go on Instagram at George's Majestic Lounge, as well as Twitter at George's Majestic. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Be sure to tell your friends and rate and subscribe. Thank you. This is the George's Live podcast, and I am Travis Smith.